So welcome everyone to the April card meeting. I guess, there's probably too many people to introduce everybody again. So I think what we'll do is if anybody new or anybody wants to speak, make sure you introduce yourself when you speak. So I'm Roger Rail. I'm a chair of CARD and chair of Scio Residents for Safe Water. And I've been watching over the Paul Gumman Danaher 1,4-dioxane contamination site going on 28 years and trying to get it to a stage where it's going to be taken care of for long after I'm gone. So that's who I am. I guess we go right into approval of minutes. Beth, you want to take that?
Oh, yes. The next vote is a board vote to approve the minutes from March 2nd, the last meeting. Are there any changes or do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. The minutes are approved.
Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
So under old minutes here, I think this will mostly be Dan Hamill. You want to go through the ones you can speak to, Dan?
Yes, I can do that. I'll just start at the top there under A. There's no change there.
So Dan Hamill, why don't you tell some of the new people on the screen who you are,
the
the division you work for?
Put instructions and I just started talking. My name is Dan Hamill. I work for EGLE, the Jackson District Office, and I'm the project manager for EGLE for the Gelman site, the day-to-day project manager. We have a team, an EGLE team, including AG representatives and geologic and hydrogeologic representative, but I'm the day-to-day person for the activities, the oversight activities that we do related to the Gelman site. So I try to attend all the CARD meetings, the monthly meetings, and then as was talked about a little bit earlier, there's a quarterly meeting which more EGLE and AG staff attend, and that is coming up at the beginning of June. So I will be, like I say, I try to be here for the monthly to answer questions and go through the agenda items that are put forth for discussion. The A has the Attorney General release the consent judgment negotiation data. No, we have not gotten permission, to release that data. That's still covered under the confidentiality agreement of the that was implemented for the negotiations between Gelman, EGLE, and the interveners. So I have no update on that. So there's still a confidentiality agreement with that. I do want to stress, as I've stressed before, is both EGLE and the interveners negotiating team have seen that data. It's not that it's been hidden, but it's not open to be released to the public. Like I said, EGLE negotiating team and the interveners teams have technical negotiating teams have seen the data. The trend analysis, I have completed my end of things, but I have not able to get it internally reviewed yet. But we're gonna kind of not delay, but I guess it's delay for lack of a better term. We want to see what's happening here in the upcoming May 3, May 3, 4, and 5 hearing. We want to get the get how the we'll finalize that after we get some direction on the response activity requirements that are supposedly will be identified in what comes up or comes out of the court hearing on the May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So let's get past that. And like I said, I've done my internal part. I do not have it reviewed, so I can't release it right this second, but I'll keep you updated. Where, we may modify it related to what happens in that hearing. So the next one is the compliance wells needing replaced at Scio Township. That relates back to the approved or authorized abandonment of monitoring well 63S shallow, intermediate, and deep in the Scioview development property. They were abandoned in September 2019. Several of them were, the shallow well and the intermediate well were identified as compliance monitoring wells under the current third amended CJ. We have chosen not to replace those right this second with the idea, or at this time with the idea that we were going to be adding new wells, we thought, related to the fourth modified CJ that was being negotiated. And so we are all kind of seeing what's coming out of the current activities, the intervention activities, and what the court will require for the fourth amended CJ. But it is mentioned in the fourth amended CJ that there's the same on the western area non-expansion objective, and compliance monitoring wells will be identified. Some, there are proposed new installations in the western area, and then once those are installed and sampled, then the final compliance monitoring wells will be identified to evaluate the plume, the groundwater contamination in the western area to the 7.2 criteria. So that's where that stands right
I make
now.
a comment on that.
Sure.
It sounds like there's going to be a compliance well either way. So I'm not sure why we don't go forward with a compliance well now. Because it sounds like in both scenarios, there's going to be a compliance well required. And we would like to see that compliance well so we know where these plumes are moving. They're going in every direction. And I don't think we can keep waiting for data, especially in the Scio Township area, who are on wells pretty significantly. Thanks.
Okay, I will take that back to the Gelman team here at EGLE. But that's the current situation, the current what's happening with the intervention and in trying to modify the fourth amendment.
And I'll just interject something here, Dan, in that this
Sure.
is Gelman's proposed location for the compliance well. They wanted it far away from this plume so it would never get to it. EGLE, DEQ at the time, wanted this area as this well as a compliance well, closer to the plume, so that something would have to be done sooner. And as it turns out, I don't know if that's ever officially resolved, but the DEQ actually wanted a closer compliance well, and Gelman wanted a farther away compliance well. And of course, now their own compliance well is gone.
Right. Just realize that the final compliance wells in the third amended CJ were court ordered. There was a dispute, as I remember, understand it, and that's prior to my time.
And Gelman won that one. They won this as the compliance well location.
And the judge sided with Gelman's request.
Well, the judge knows that there is no
MW
compliance well here in this direction. And there hasn't been now for quite some time.
2019, September.
Right. Right. Just so, and I'm sure the attorneys have told the judge this.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what the intervention or the communication is from the interveners. So,
at least I hope that's the case. Thank you.
That would be in their information to pass on to the judge. So that's the current status there. Vince, I just had one comment back related to your comment. Again, we want to place these compliance monitoring wells for the reason that Roger just said.
Mhm. Right.
Logical location relating to the new 7.2 criteria. And, as we tried before, we want to, we don't want to put those out way far. We want to have some good information and related to some new installations and current analytical from existing wells to come up with, which wells would be used for compliance. So that's one of the reasons we haven't done it, is just okay to replace in an area. Again, it would be we can't order it in the sense the court could, but there would be some dispute resolution, I'm sure, from Gelman related to that. So
I just want to say too, thanks for that comment, but I'm Vince Caruso. I'm a board member of CARD and a coordinating member for the Alums Creek Watershed Group. So Dan, you're basically saying that there is really no obvious location to put this well in either case?
I would, preferably I would want some additional information that's proposed for the Fourth Amendment CJ with investigation activities proposed or highlighted in the draft Fourth Amendment to get that information before you make a final location. Sure, I guess, I mean, in one respect, you could say, well, let's put something in between closer to the known existence of the plume. But I one of the reasons our team, identified that as let's get the other wells in that are proposed and use all the information available to come up with which wells are the preferred compliance monitoring wells. Once they are identified, as they are now in this third CJ, once they're identified, it's much harder to get those changed through the court with Gelman's opposition or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, like I said before, there's a lot of wells, a lot of drinking water wells out there at risk, and we can't be putting them at risk.
So that is, your argument or your information is correct, and we, are looking,
You can pass that on if you would.
Yeah, and maybe you can review what would happen if those compliance wells got to a certain parts per billion. What would happen?
Well, under the current CJ, the one that we are regulating, the third amended CJ, basically it's a non-expansion objective, which the compliance monitoring wells are the wells that are utilized to define expansion. So currently, those compliance monitoring wells cannot have 1,4-dioxane contamination greater than 85 ppb.
But wasn't there a separate action level parts per billion, like 40 or something like that? Something less than the.
Well, there may have been some identification by EGLE. I think there was discussion and identification in public meetings by EGLE that we would, although the court identified 85, it's in the court, the CJ, we would start reacting ourselves related to something less than that. But
thank you,
at
Dan.
that time, and offer public, or offer water.
One more question related to this, Dan. Is NW 128S being considered as a compliance well? That's the one I'm showing on the screen.
Yeah, all those wells installed in, is that one of the ones installed in 2014?
This is the one that had a 3 parts per billion hit right on the edge of Saginaw Forest.
Oh, well, that's one of the reasons we just don't want to go to court. We want to get all the information and identify. I can't say that it is on a list right now because we don't have a master list of what we would propose right now. So, but yes, it will be available.
This is an existing well, and it's already at 3 parts per billion. If this had been a compliance well, wouldn't you start doing something right about now?
No, Roger, probably, but just realize that the current CJ has 85 as the action level. So at PPB, it wouldn't, you know, under.
I know,
by definition-
on 85, but if it's 7.2, 3 parts per billion is getting close enough to 7.2, it seems like something would start to happen.
If you look under the fourth amended CJ, there are action items as we approach that 7.2. There are like half of that 3 to 4 ppb. And again, I don't remember specific numbers that would be
I
action.
just want people to understand that there's compliance rules are supposed to be doing something. Yep. Thanks.
Let's see, what number am I on?
Let me go back to the share.
Yeah, on the D, Windwell, Eagle, Washtenaw County sample Allen Creek drain next and other locations to be included, like the Mack School or Scio Township locations. If Evan is on, I believe he's going to do something a little bit later. But in summary, the next sampling of the Allen Creek drain, we are anticipating Gelman to do that here in the near future. They are going to be submitting a work plan to sample the Allen Creek drain related to the potential Ms4 violation. Evan Pratt, Washtenaw County, and EGLE Water Resources Division and my division, the Remediation and Redevelopment Division, have talked with and worked with Gelman. And they are supposedly they have committed to submitting a work plan by April 15th here. And that will be the next sampling of the Allen Creek drain related to that. Now, as far as EGLE sampling, we will get their work plan and evaluate it with Washtenaw County, and we will identify, our concerns or suggested additions if needed. And so that's the next, I don't have a date when that would be, but they have committed to submit a work plan by April 15th here. As far as some of the other locations, specifically the Mack School, Jenny Kahn and I went out to the Mack School the evening before we had the last town hall meeting with Congresswoman Dingell. That Wednesday before, I think we had it on a Thursday. I don't recall the specific date, but that Wednesday before, we met out there and did a walkover of the Mack School area related to some of the comments received at the last card meeting. And Jenny and I, we did not see any locations that were kind of discussed at that other card meeting of wet areas or potential seep areas. And we didn't identify potential, like I said, the wet or seep locations related to groundwater on the property. We did visually confirm the significant higher elevation of the school related to the confirmed depth of groundwater. Some of the other things I wanted to point out and that were mentioned in summary before, that the estimated contaminated groundwater plume is not identified beneath the school. So the likelihood of it's significantly higher elevation, so likelihood of even seeping is not likely. Communication, Jenny Kahn had talked with the school about potential wet basement. That did they have a concern about wet basements? And they identified that they don't have a concern about wet basement. It's any wetness associated in the basement is not is minimal and related really to building and surface drainage. Likely related to building and surface drainage during precipitation events. So we don't have any plans right now to do an individual sampling up there. I was going to, if people had concerns, we talk to them and say, hey, maybe we need to get other eyes on where you had your concern to point out to us what your concerns were. We will gather additional information if presented, and they could incorporate sampling if required during our normal surface water sampling event that's usually held in the fall. So we just didn't find anything out there that we could identify as related to groundwater seeps.
I want to make a comment if I can. So Maple Village had a well MW7087S that's gone now due to development on that site. That well was at 400 to 1500 part per billion. Roger had brought this up recently to his credit. That well, shallow well, was sampling at 843 feet. Mack School is at the same elevation as that sampling. Slauson School is much below, it's 821. West Park is at 816. I think there's a real concern here that we had 400 to 1500 parts per billion at Maple Village, which is heading towards Mack School, towards West Park, towards Slauson. I have photographs from Mack School's wetness that shows that there's seeps coming out of the hillside. Now, I've gone over there as well recently, and I have not seen any seeps coming out of the hillside. I'm told there are seeps that come out of the hillside, and that's groundwater, generally speaking, flowing out just like we have at West Park and other parks in Ann Arbor and other neighborhoods. So that's a concern of ours, that we have these seeps, we have wet areas at the school, and I think we're looking at potentially high parts per billion flowing in that direction if it's not happening now. It'd be nice to know if, what levels are in the groundwater in that area. Gelman should be testing this. This is a school system with kids in the schools and teachers in the schools and kids in the playground. So that's my concern. I think that's CARD's concern to a large extent as well. So I can forward those photos. I don't know if you've ever gotten the photographs.
If you have information, I'm saying we're not going to sample. We went out there and could not identify currently the steep areas. If there are, then please identify those and we'll take a look. But does
that elevation issue surprise you, or does that bother you at all? The fact that Maple Village is at 800, or is that 843?
Yeah, but again, the ground level goes down from there, from Maple Village. We've confirmed the ground, where we've confirmed groundwater in the West Park area, and related to the Mack School, and we're 20 to 20 plus 25 feet below groundwater.
It's only 20 feet at Slauson, and we're getting significant readings there too now.
We've confirmed it up. I mean, so evaluating the information that we had, including information from the city, confirmed up at Mack area, but we think we're, the shallowest groundwater is 25 feet, 25 feet below that area.
But you do have seeps coming out of those hillsides at Mack School.
Vince, those seeps could be related to, to perched groundwater, which is not related to contaminated groundwater from the.
Well, I think we need to have it tested.
Vince, what you need.
I appreciate your efforts,
Vince. What you need to do.
My kids went to Open. I know it. I know the spongy parts pretty well, so I'm gonna do us a favor and run over there and observe it, because I'm here in town every day, and I know exactly where to look. And so,
I'm not saying no. We just went out there.
Yeah.
Response to some of the questions, and we just couldn't find. There's a lot of drainage. There's the property drainage area. There's riprap and stuff.
Yeah, they've done some work. They've did some work in the last 2 years.
So Jeff, have you witnessed? Your kids went to Mack School.
Yeah.
Have you witnessed the wetness at Mack School?
Yeah, but I have, and it's in a couple different places, but they also have done some work with the new playground. They got this environmental playground grant to re-terraform it back there. They call it the upper playground, lower playground. And it has improved it over there. And so it makes me think that perhaps, Dan, like you said, that it's, related to surface drainage and other, because of the way the hills go up there a little bit. But I'm happy to go by there a couple times in this next couple weeks. It's been moist.
I've gone there. I've gone there every week.
You can talk about this, but we need the data for where you've seen the seeps. And if you have photos, we need the data for where those.
I mean, I have
the
no
XY of where those photos are taken.
Yeah, if I see something, I'll mark it
Talking about.
and send it on.
I mean, we're data driven here. We're not doing things just because we're talking about it. We need data, good data.
So
Well, I thought the photos were distributed, sorry.
Well, yeah, but
if they-
you still got to know where the
I-
photos were. You got to have X,
Yeah.
Y.
Oh, you can look, well, yeah, you can look at the photos and see if the photos of the
Yeah, but
playground, and you can identify.
You might as well geocode the photos. So
I didn't take
we don't
them,
have
so
to do
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yeah.
Now, if they have the buildings located in there, you can eyeball where you're standing.
Yeah, it's not that hard to do.
Yeah, if you can get them to me, and we'll reevaluate if there's
I'll send them out.
Thanks.
risk,
Let's
and
go on to the next item.
we take another look. The next one is recent monitoring well work in Saginaw Forest. Yes, I confirmed with Gelman that they've been conducting extraction well redevelopment and rehabilitation on activities on extraction wells on their property and on the property in Saginaw Forest in the western area. So they have been doing that as part of their operation and maintenance, which is identified in their O&M plans. And so what I've asked, once I confirm that, based upon your inquiries or questions, I've asked them to send me and we've done this before with regular O&M activities. I've asked them to send me provide me with a summary report when these activities are completed. So they have been just redeveloping the wells out there. The efficiency of extraction they were noticing it was going down, and so they have to do that. It's related to the hydrogeology material, the iron filing, and that type of things that in the shallow groundwater and in the groundwater that occurs in.
So Dan, does this relate to the clearing work that they've done at the end of April Drive next to the tributary?
I didn't ask that specific question, Roger, but there's extraction well down that area. I don't know. I don't know that specifically, but he's gonna, I identified that they provide a list of the activities they conducted, what wells they did them on. Well, I can check on that.
They did some clear cutting right next to the tributary. I noticed when I was getting my car serviced out near there, and I wondered, are they building a road?
I mean, they have
what are
done,
they doing there?
I can confirm they have done some clearing related to the unnamed tributary as it relates to their discharge area, because they were getting backup. They were not having an efficient movement of the water down, down the unnamed trib from their NPDES outfall there. And they did that under the, with notification and under the review of the, Water Resources Division that takes care of that, or, they were made aware of that. And then I was made aware of that too, that they had done some maintenance on the Honey Creek around their
So does this mean that
trip of Honey Creek around?
Does this mean that it's no longer backing up to the marshy area next to the discharge point?
I can't answer that specifically. They were having problems with the discharge, for the 450 gallons a minute related to how it's affecting the unnamed trib. So I can't say with that.
But
clearing
you've sampled out there. You've sampled downstream from the discharge point and upstream from the discharge point. Did you notice any
not that
water levels? Did you notice any difference in water levels after the work was done?
I haven't been out there sampling after this work, what you're talking about, Roger, the recent work. It's that. So we will be doing surface water sampling, like I say, this year sometime. I don't have it scheduled, but usually it occurs in the fall.
Yeah, well, next time you're in the area, you might want to take a look at that. Thanks.
Okay. The next, the update of the Ms4 violation. I don't know if Evan's on. I can give you I kind of summarize things if he wants to expand that. If he's on.
Yeah, Dan, this is Jenny Kahn. He's not on, so if you want to just give that quick update, that'd be great.
Well, basically, we told you the last card meeting that we have been in contact and have met with Gelman, well, Jim Brody, the consultant for Gelman, and requested that he provide they provide a work plan of sampling the Allen Creek drain as gathering additional information related to a potential MS4 violation in the Allen Creek drain. They have committed to giving us a work plan for sampling the Allen Creek drain by April 15th. The initial sampling will be within the pipe. Evan Pratt provided to Gelman information he had related to camera work done within the Allen Creek drain pipe itself, where you could see, for example, you could see groundwater coming in at through a crack and that type of thing. So they have utilized all that information that has been provided by Washtenaw County to come up with a work plan. We will see the work plan on April 15th. Like I said, Evan, Washtenaw County and EGLE Water Resources Division in RRD will review that work plan, and that'll be the first step forward. Gelman will do that sampling related right in their work plan.
But Dan, I want to make a comment if I could on that. I think we need to have a hard deadline for Gelman. This is going on past 3 years now, a violation with a known contaminant in the drain in the creek flowing into the Huron River. And I think we need to pressure Gelman to clean it up. There is no agreement at this point that they can continue to do this. So I think you need to set a hard deadline for them to do a cleanup and make them meet that deadline. And it's their job. It's their contamination. I don't think there's any question this is coming from their plume, their toxic dump site at the core. So, I'd like to see a hard deadline for this project. I think CARD would like to see it also. Thanks.
That is really what I have, that Evan has provided, or we are working with, awaiting that work plan. And I will make note, Vince, of your request to, as part of that work plan, implementation of that work plan, and future activities, schedule deadlines.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Kathy, do you have something? Kathy Griswold?
Yes, I just have a question for Dan. Did you say towards the beginning of your presentation that EGLE does not want to go to court?
I'm not sure. If I said something that was, you misunderstood, I didn't say that specifically. Does not want to go to court.
With regard to what?
Yeah.
Kathy?
I don't recall if I referenced something.
Oh, okay. I had just
No, we're in court.
Lowered my volume.
We're going
Go
through as part of the negotiations, as part of the work, the hearings that are coming up. We are part of that group that's working with the judge. So it's kind of pre-court. It may very soon go to court related to what's going to happen here in the May hearings, the next step. But as far as going to court, I may have stated that certain activities that like the compliance, I think maybe it was related to the compliance monitoring well question, that to do that, to order EGLE just ordering, saying, hey, you have to modify that. I believe Gelman would have some dispute resolution, and it may require some activity in the court to force that compliance monitoring well installation immediately. That's what I probably referenced that in that context.
Oh, okay. Thanks. And then the MS4 violation, we're expecting that to move ahead independent of the court case at this point. Is that
That's true? It is Evan, as the Washtenaw County holder of the MS4 permit for the Allen Creek drain. Yes, we have moved forward separately, and that's what this work plan will do, is the steps forward to start that process of eliminating that illicit discharge into the MS4 illicit discharge into the Allen Creek drain as related to contaminated groundwater from the Gelman.
Hey, Dan, I wonder if you can distribute that plan that they provide to you through the CAR group and the Allen Creek group.
I believe, once we get a plan like that, it's
Public?
full information.
It'll be in the repository.
Okay.
I'll confirm that. I don't want to.
Okay. But I'd like to see it. I mean, the CARD would like to see it. The Allen Creek group would like to see it. A big deal.
Yeah, let me confirm. I don't want to say absolutely, and then, well, there's a delay in us, getting that out. But
Yeah.
I think it's, we will take a look at that with Washtenaw County and the EGLE, and it will.
Let's try to keep this moving here a little faster.
Okay. The next item I have is, I think, the City of Ann Arbor under the agenda. The wet basement testing update, and that would be the city.
That's me. This is Patti McCall with Tetra Tech. We have not sampled any basement since the last meeting. It's been a little dry, so hopefully the next meeting we'll have something to share.
Okay, thanks.
I have one question, Patty. You only had one sample so far, right?
Correct.
A call in, and not really within the group that the area that you are.
It is. It's across the street. Yeah. Yep.
I was asked that, and I told people I thought that was the case, so I can confirm. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, we've said this before, but I think you need to do testing downstream towards the river. I think you're too high up in elevation, and that's my opinion. I think it behooves us to spend the money more efficiently. Thanks.
So the next item, I did reach out and ask Brian about the sampling. And he said that he was under the impression that they couldn't access at the mouth of Honey Creek where it meets the Huron River. And I remember we've all said that it's not that difficult, and we've all kind of looked at the area. But he asked why we would want it there when they're testing the effluent as it's discharged, and that the water plant tests, like Brian Ann Arbor tests for the bromates. So he was wondering what a few 100 feet difference makes, and what CARD's reasoning was for wanting that to be exact. So I told him I would ask at this meeting.
Well, it was in the agreement with the company to sample at the mouth of Honey Creek, which really isn't here.
That thing
It's really right here.
Yeah.
This
And
is
also
a
you
backwash from the river. And this is accessible. In fact, Dan Hamill, when he is now sampling for dioxane here, and it's easy to do right from the bridge. This is close enough to the mouth of Honey Creek. It's certainly a lot closer than half mile down in the river.
I can tell you what the information that I know related to my question to Gelman. I think I've said this before. There was, as far as access, it is a little tougher access to get right at the confluence, but they also ran into problems related to right of the railroad access, giving them access to go on railroad property. They basically were going on, and then suddenly the rail, historically.
But Dan, that's at this location, which is not really the mouth. The mouth is really back here because the river water is this high.
Right, Roger, and the right of way along that railroad is, I'm sure, from the center line is some distance to either side, and that's and again I'm getting this hand from.
But this is 170 feet here, which is a lot closer than a half mile.
Well, I'm just saying, that why they don't stop taking it at that location where you're pointing your yellow.
Well, as somebody who has a well near Honey Creek, me, I would like to know how much bromate is in Honey Creek behind my house here. And I don't,
And
you don't have to sample it.
realize,
I would say sample here where you sampling for dioxane. It's just common sense. That's what the agreement says. Sample at the mouth where it's exiting into the river, not half mile downstream in the river. And why are they not sampling for bromate here? It doesn't make any sense to sample a half mile down into the river.
agreement with the city, and just as Brian mentioned, I think Beth, you mentioned it, is I mean, they are sampling for bromate at their outfall.
No,
So
they're not. At the outfall.
at the outfall they are.
Oh, at the
That's
outfall
part
back here.
Yeah.
But in the agreement, they said they're supposed to sample here to
Well,
know how much is entering the river. And when you
Well, maybe
sample
you
down
could, you
here,
and I could
you
write,
don't know how much is entering the river. You don't know. I don't know how much bromate is behind my house. I would
There's
think that there's a state agency.
There's a bridge right there. You could stand it. It's got a very wide, I got the map up. There's a very wide spot on the bridge that can be used for sampling.
Oh yeah, well Dan
Um,
knows. He's sampled here.
That gives us much better data. Gives us a heads up as to what's happening with bromate. You know, what's the trend? When you go way
Okay.
down the river, it's much less information
Well,
by a significant amount.
I'll
We
write
don't know
something
how
up.
much bromate is watered down by the time it gets
Yep.
to the exit point here. We do.
Oh.
We still don't know this.
Okay, well,
after all
we'll
15,
compile
16 years.
something.
So if I may, the 2006 consent judgment with the City of Ann Arbor, not the rest of the parties, actually locates this testing site with some precision. And so the city should be able to enforce that as a testing site.
Thank you.
Just a matter of getting the city attorney.
And it would be good if the state supported the city in that action.
Okay,
Yep.
Kathy?
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Yeah, it seems like we've been having this discussion since I started attending CARD meetings.
Yeah.
And so I will see the city attorney on Thursday. Could somebody outline what the action plan should be so that we can move on from this discussion?
Sample at this location.
I mean, and it's at the location that's in the agreement, right? So if someone could, I'll work with Beth to get a copy of the agreement, deliver it to the city attorney on Thursday.
It's close enough.
Yeah, zoom in, Roger. Zoom in on that.
It's
Is
close
there
enough to this
anyone here
location.
who doesn't agree that this should be the sampling site?
Well,
Okay.
maybe you need to talk to Brian too, because he just wondered why it mattered. And I mean, I know we thought it mattered, but I thought I would again ask.
Can I
Yeah.
interject here? I think Brian's point was he is monitoring at the water treatment plant at the intake for bromate, and it's non-detect. So from his perspective, that is his charge.
And the other, as EGLE's perspective is they're under an NPDES permit that they do daily monitoring of bromate at their discharge. So that would be, logically thinking they would identify a maximum getting into there. So if it was in the range in the NPDES permit.
So how much dioxin is lost by the time it hits this point?
I can't answer that.
Of course you can't, because they're not sampling there. Somebody should be sampling there. It's got
I'm not a
simple-
scientist, but I think we need to follow the agreement or amend the agreement.
Well, you got to understand, the
Follow the
same
agreement.
lawyers are involved in the agreement now that was in the agreement to put it here. They didn't know how hard it was to access this point. In fact, Gelman may have known that it was hard to access this point, and that's why they said this is where it should be. This is where they should be sampling, where it can get to you can sample it easy. You don't have to have right of way. You can go right here on a public right of way and do the sampling. This is an indication of why the lawyers don't have enough information to make good decisions in these settlements. It's just then this happened back in 2006, mind you. And here it is,
Okay, yeah.
2021, 15 years later, and we still don't have a sample. We still don't know how much dioxin is lost all this time, and or how much bromate is lost. And some of that bromate could be entering groundwater along the way, just like dioxin could be entering groundwater in the portions of Honey Creek.
And just to be clear, we've had bromate in an intake at Ann Arbor intake system on a Barton Pond. So it's not like it hasn't happened in the past. We need to know what level bromate is at that location because it could change. It could be absorbed in a creek. It could not be absorbed in the creek. There's a lot of variables.
I mean,
they've agreed to do it. Let's do it.
This is just common sense. And there's been agreements made that just lack common sense. And we got to put a stop to that. So
Okay,
that's my rant.
I'll follow up with Beth, go to the lawyer, and Brian if necessary, and get a report back at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. So I think you and Sue Shink have the next one.
I'd prefer to defer to Kathy Knoll if that's okay with Sue. I think she has the latest information.
Yeah, that's fine.
Kat,
Yeah, you want?
Just turned on my sound.
We're always trying to get you to talk.
Well, sometimes I like to just listen.
Speak up.
Yeah, move.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Closer to the mic.
Little faint.
Can you hear it?
Faint.
That's odd. What about now?
Adequate.
Okay. 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 So right now, Sue Shink is compiling a letter that will go to the governor that will have signatures from Chris Taylor, Will Hathaway from Scio, Sue Shink, and the supervisor from Ann Arbor Township. I forget her name. I'm sorry.
Diane O'Connell.
Diane. Okay. Possibly one other party. We're not sure at this time. Scio had gotten an informational brochure put together by an outside consultant, but we are we're holding on this right now. We've gotten some feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback and we are holding, and I don't know where it's going to go. So is that all you wanted an update on? Is there more?
I apologize. I thought you were going to talk about the letter from Yusuf Rabi and our other representatives.
Okay.
But if it's confidential, don't. I just thought it.
Yeah, it's a good news item. So I spoke to Yusuf yesterday. He has drafted a letter. It has been signed by Donna Luzinski, Jeff Irwin, Felicia, Yusuf, and there is one other person, Ronnie Peterson. And it has gone to the governor. It was sent this week. So that's really all I have.
What's the letter say?
Yeah, can we get a copy of that letter for Card Archives?
What does it say?
It's requesting the concurrence letter from the governor. We had all discussed this before, so I thought all of you knew. No response yet.
Card should have copies of letters like this for its archives. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
And when I spoke to Yusuf Rabi today, he is scheduling a meeting with EGLE leadership and that contingent of elected leaders from Washtenaw County to meet as early as next week. And Kathy, is Jeff Irwin included in that letter? You know, Sunday.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I just didn't hear that.
And
Okay.
Jeff Irwin has already sent his own letter, he told me. And I hate to jump ahead, but does this mean we maybe shouldn't have our rally, or?
We
we-
should definitely have the rally because the meeting with EGLE will not be until Tuesday at the earliest. So I think an additional nudge would be good.
Or a hammer.
Thank you.
How many letters is this going to take?
I don't know.
Well, since that was brought up, let's move item 6. Why don't you, Beth, you speak to that right now?
Okay, well, I'm a good sign maker, so I'm making a bunch of signs, different sizes and shapes. So when we all meet, people can grab a sign. Jeff Irwin said he would come out and say hi to us between session, and I think Yusuf Rabi is going to also. So we're hoping that if everybody, we're going to start putting it on social media probably later this week, by the end of the week, and see if people can come out. I know M Live is
Time
going to
and
be
place?
there. Oh, I'm
Good.
sorry. On the Capitol lawn at 11:30 next Tuesday, the 13th
AM.
a.m.
And we'll have
Yeah,
some
I know.
protocols for COVID protocols and, separate, stand separately and be masked
And
up and
just-
all that stuff.
And
But basically, we want EPA now. And why has, I mean, when we sent her the request to send the concurrence letter in December, and then we know there were holidays. And then after that, there was an inauguration. And then after that, there was the difference of opinions that nobody was really sure. So we had the meeting on the 18th, and then now it still hasn't gone. And so we just want her to know. So hopefully, I don't even know if Governor Whitmer will be there that day, but like I said, M Live, I reached out to Channel 7 ABC in Detroit, and I'm not sure if they're going to come, but we have the Michigan Daily and M Live will be there.
There's a
Let's
lance.
put it on an NPR affiliate. I got an NPR affiliate. It's on his news feed up or whatever. They have some schedule thing they do.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. And I will have approximately 50 brand new sanitized masks. Kathy Knoll and Jack Eaton are going to help me, and they will have at least the letters EPA on them so that we can send a message. I wanted to say EPA, please, but I don't think I can get that many letters.
I like EPA now.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's good.
We can work on that maybe.
Yeah.
I know
Okay.
that I'm attending from Scio. I don't know about others from Scio yet. Kathy Griswold has said she's attending. Jack Eaton is attending. Kathy, do you know about other Ann Arbor City Council people who might be attending?
A couple have said yes, but what I'd prefer is that once we get this out on social media, on Facebook, then as an event, then people can acknowledge it, and indicate they're coming. And then this Saturday is, I think, the city Dems meeting. And so we can announce it then as well.
Yeah. It's important that people stay on message. All that we were asking for basically is we want the governor to send in the compliance letter to get the EPA process started. That's the gist of this.
And I did not reserve a loudspeaker or the Capitol steps. I thought it would be more effective if we're just there walking around social distancing with our masks and with our signs, for an hour or so. And I suspect elected officials will come out who have been invited, as well as some that are just curious walking between the office buildings and the Capitol.
Are there any special rules for permits nowadays?
Yeah, no, we checked on that, and no, as long as, like you said, we aren't doing a loudspeaker system, and yeah, we're gonna, it's the right, we have the right to do it, so.
Yeah, just leave your AK-47s home though, okay?
Yeah, no guns. We're not a gun crowd, I don't think.
I don't think so.
If a couple of us got jailed, we'd get more attention.
Yeah, there you go. Oh.
All right, well, that's good that got organized, and it's all grassroots. Appreciate that. With all the elected officials helping out.
Yeah, thanks everyone for working on it.
Yeah, I hope to be able to join you. So go back to item 4. This are your updates, Dan. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I need to share the screen again.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, we can hear you.
your screen.
I go in and out of mute and sometimes I can't tell. On the updates, no new information on the NPDES renewal. They're still evaluating the current renewal. So the last permit is still in place, and those being implemented, and Gelman is maintaining the compliance with that permit, like she has promised. Jessica Stiles has confirmed, and so has Tarek confirmed that they, when they move to the next step, they know that their card stakeholders want a public meeting, and so they're planning on that.
Okay.
So that's
So basically, nothing's going to happen
Next
until
question.
May 5th and May 3rd to 5th court hearing, right? We're not going to
I
know
think
anything.
that's-
until then.
Okay, what's happening in the court will drive activities with EGLE, with the interveners, with Gelman, and then also required permits by EGLE and those types of activities.
Yeah.
Review of permits.
Well, let us know if there's any information from CARD that would help you with that.
Okay. The next one is a new revised CJ between EGLE and Gelman. When will the public interveners see this? I confirmed with the AG and make sure I'm understood what we have, what we don't have. In EGLE and Gelman, we don't have a new revised draft CJ. When I spoke or during previous court filing discussions and discussions I've done with CARD, both EGLE and Gelman have stated the desire to move forward with a revised CJ implementing the new 7.2 criteria and GSI criteria and other portions of that draft 4th amended CJ that aren't in contention. Wells, those monitoring wells and those types of activities. And we've stated that we wanted to move forward in the court and implement that, and as negotiations continued for the additional response activities requested by the interveners, there is not a document that, there's not a draft CJ where that a revised one that only includes selected. We've stated that we would only include these items, but we don't have a document that can be between, that can be identified as a draft revision to the 4th amended.
Yeah, and just like before, you're not going to release what those items are until they're decided.
I think verbally, you mean what items would be included? What we were thinking of? Well, what I've said this at CARD before, we want the 7.2 criteria to be identified. We want the GSI criteria, the 280 to be identified in the CJ, as opposed to the third one is kind of referenced. Yeah. Remote.
So could that be CJ like 3.1, and then the other items could be like 3.2 and 3.3?
Dan? Oh, yeah, Kathy Griswold does too, but I want to know that isn't that what Judge Connors was going to do at the 3rd through the 5th? I thought he was going to set up his own, what he wants, the criteria. He's going to.
Well, I'm not sure he's gonna set, I mean, the criteria is the criteria. I mean, that's passed by.
Well, the cleanup criteria, he says, what do you want me to
Right.
do? How can I do it legally? I mean, those questions. And so I'm assuming that everyone's gonna go and say, this is what we want you to do. And he's gonna make them do the cleanup plan or whatever he called it.
Rule on what has been submitted by Gelman and submitted by the interveners and submitted, and the interveners likely will, submit it, and then Gelman will respond, and then EGLE will respond, and so he'll take all that information and move forward with a ruling, and again, I'm speaking not as a court person, a ruling of what he wants implemented at Gelman. What we were saying is that as that keeps going, we just wanted, to get a fourth amended CJ, something in place that now the criteria is identified as 7.2. Right now, we can't really do anything unless they go above 85 and people get exposed above drinking water of 85. So that's what we were thinking of, is moving forward to just get certain portions implemented as the negotiations, as the judge finalizes his evaluation review and what he's going to rule on as the requirements for the rest of the requirements for a fourth amended CJ.
Okay.
Thanks,
Kathy
Dan.
Griswold, then Kathy Knoll.
Okay, yeah, I was at the hearing and the judge did mention the new criteria, and what I wrote down towards the end was there'll be no depositions. It must be fact. I must be the fact finder. I need to hear from all of the participants, given the new criteria, what is possible, what should be done, how, please educate me. And then I want to say something, and I am not revealing any confidential information. This is just common sense. Given that we've been negotiating with Gelman for so many years, the probability of getting some type of acceptable consent judgment so that we wouldn't have to have this hearing, because a lot of times if you're facing a hearing or a court case, you try to settle out of court. Given the history with Gelman, I don't see that being likely. And so I think that our best chance and our resources really should go into preparing for this court hearing, and that we're very fortunate to have a judge who is using terms like this. He wants to be the fact finder. And so I just want to say thank you to our judge and to all the people that have been working on this. So I'm hoping we're reaching the tipping point on the litigation as well as the EPA.
Kathy Knoll.
Yes, I wanted to clarify something that was stated earlier at the webinar hosted by Debbie Dingle and Washtenaw County. A representative from EGLE had stated that there was a new fourth amended CJ that had been negotiated by Gelman and EGLE. So people might be confused, and I heard some confusion about that in the response that Dan Hamill just gave. So Dan, maybe you didn't say that, but someone else did say that.
Okay.
And it's good to hear. It's good to hear that you were correcting it and stating the correct information. Right. I also wanted to make a point that even though we have the hearing for 3 days in May, the judge may not issue a ruling immediately. It could take several weeks or a month for him to issue the ruling. So don't expect a quick decision.
Thank you. Jack Eaton, and then is that Linda Burrauer?
It is. Yeah, it's me.
So I just want to add to what Kathy Knoll just said, which is that there will be a delay between the hearings and any order from judge. But then we just have to anticipate that Gelman will appeal from anything that the judge orders. And EGLE has been reluctant to do anything while appeals and negotiations and everything are going on. So I don't think there's going to be any quick response through the state process. We're not going to see the application of the 7.2 standard anytime soon. So this is why it's just so essential that we move forward on the EPA, because the polluter is going to drag us through a whole appeals process after the judge rules.
I do want to make one thing clear. You're right. We're regulating on using the third amended CJ with a 85 criteria. I believe several, myself and other EGLE management have identified that, we are looking at it not at the 85. We may not be able to do something in court, but if there's a risk related to that new criteria, EGLE will do something. For example, if someone's well is approaching that or there's exposure, we will definitely move to provide bottled water or some type of activity to eliminate that exposure. So it's not, I talk that I'm using the third amended CJ is what we're regulating to, but we have previously stated that we will react with information relating that there is an exposure risk, for example, drinking water exposure risk to the 7.2, and provide, and make sure that people aren't exposed, have a risk of exposure to something greater than that.
Yeah, we want to minimize it. We want to avoid that at all costs. Nobody wants to be dependent on bottled water. That's inappropriate, unacceptable.
Something that we've done in the past, and we, have committed, have stated that, we will if needed and as required.
Okay, thank you. Linda?
Yeah, I just, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just would like some clarification on what Kathy, I think it was Kathy Knoll just alluded to. The meeting that Debbie Dingle organized with all the stakeholders. I'm still not clear, and I'm hoping somebody can explain when somebody, I suppose from EGLE, was saying they were negotiating independently with Gelman, and Mayor Taylor said he didn't know anything about any such negotiation. And I'm wondering, was that an error, or did some kind of negotiating with just those two parties happen without the interveners?
Dan, maybe you can speak to that.
Well, during the whole process, what I've identified is there has been the discussions that have been public, and where we both Gelman and EGLE have identified that, we would love to implement. We really feel that, well, EGLE especially feels that we need to implement that 7.2, the new criteria as quick as possible to be able to eliminate that risk, to be able to react and eliminate, eliminate that risk between the 7.2 and 85.
Right.
So that is what we were talking about. Have we had secret negotiations?
That wasn't though what was said. And Joshua Mosier's on, maybe he was the one that said it, but somebody said clearly, we have a revised fourth CJ we've been working on. And
yeah, that's what I heard. And then the Mayor Taylor was surprised and said he didn't know anything about that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
we did have a revised CJ. I mean, I guess, if we look back at, the message was, Gelman and EGLE were in agreement with a revised fourth CJ, way back in 2016, 17.
Yes.
Before the intervention, which did, memorialize the 7.2 as the cleanup criteria and had the other things in it. Then the intervention happened. And then the interveners started with the negotiations. And then, of course, that ultimately was rejected. So when I said that, we're in agreement with Gelman, we're still in agreement with Gelman on those minimal things necessary. Let's get to a point where we can update to the 7.2 let's add additional monitoring. We're still in agreement with Gelman on those things. Yeah, we don't have a document. We did have a document. Again, we had a fully negotiated document in at the end of 2016.
Yeah, and it was made of
prior to the intervention. So we did have an agreement. It got revised to what with the interveners to what was presented to the public and rejected. But we're still in agreement with Gelman, I believe, on those basic principles of updating. And my message was, we needed this interim CJ to get something better for now, to get recognized a more stringent criteria, to get additional monitoring in place. And we don't believe Gelman is opposed to that. Is it the end game? Like I said, is it the end game that everybody wants? Probably not. And so then you can continue with the court negotiations and have the judge implement or get people to agree on more action, or take the EPA route to go through the assessment process and the remedy decision. But in the meantime, we would have those, I'm going to call them skeleton provisions of, up-to-date criteria, additional monitoring in place. And we're not waiting for everything to happen. We have incremental progress. So that was what was meant by that comment.
Well, that's Joshua
we were in
Mosher,
agreement.
right?
Yes.
Joshua?
Yeah, Joshua, Assistant Director for RRD.
So it sounded also like that the EPA said that there's nothing barring the consent agreement from happening. And in fact, they would like to see something in place while they were brought into the process, because they needed some enforcement to continue before they got into a position where they could begin to do enforcement and cleanup.
And until
So
there's a formal listing after the assessment process and before a remedy under CERCLA is decided on, the state still has to implement the state law program. And so to have some stability on what that is beneficial while we wait for that.
So that sounds like,
I'm sorry, I have a couple of hands raised. Kathy Griswold and Ralph McKee.
I have the exact quote from the mayor, so I just wanted to read it here. And that is when he referred to the resolutions that were passed and the letter to be sent to the governor for the EPA, he said resolutions not contingent on CJ. So I appreciate what Joshua is talking about, and I really love that phrase, incremental progress. I think that's what we all want. We realize it's going to be a long drawn out procedure, I'd say, but okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. And I think there's general understanding at this point.
Ralph and then Jane.
I guess I don't have general understanding of a couple things. At that hearing, I got the clear impression that Mr. Nagel was talking about discussions that were recent. Based on what Josh just said, it sounds like your impression was that the discussions in the CJ that you're talking about were 3 years old. I don't think anybody at that meeting that was listening to what Brian Nagel said was talking about anything back in the past.
No, I think it's a combination of both. Like I said, we had a formal agreement fully negotiated at the time the intervention happened, and then it got modified with the interveners' input, and then ultimately rejected. I mean, we continue to speak to Gelman about their obligations under law, and we put it on the record publicly when we responded to their one of their motions that EGLE would like to see an update, at least a minimal update to make the incremental progress to the CJ to memorialize the things that weren't contested. And that's what Brian was speaking to is, Gelman is in agreement with us, I believe, on that. There's not a document, we haven't put everything down, but conceptually that, we can make incremental progress by getting things done incrementally and get those things that are uncontested in there. And those discussions have continued.
My question then is, my follow is, so then there were recent discussions that you had just between EGLE and Gelman, right?
Well, we're always talking to Gelman about their obligations
Okay.
under the
Well,
law.
here's my comment about that. I mean, the interveners spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to be involved in those negotiations. Hundreds of thousands of dollars just for that very purpose. And yet what the mayor was complaining about, if I heard him right, and I think I did, was that aren't those discussions, shouldn't they involve the interveners, since that's the entire point of what have been doing for the last 3 years? And why wasn't a call made to the interveners to say these negotiations are going on? What would you like? And my second question is, if you want this interim progress, which I think everybody wants, that's a common goal of everybody except maybe Gelman, then what, and maybe this is just my own ignorance because I haven't seen whatever has been filed or not filed, or maybe the filings aren't in yet. What position are you going to take with respect to the points that what the interveners want or what you want at the hearing? Because that's effectively a substitute for the CJ. If the judge did rule and Gelman accepted the ruling, that's where you ask. So for whatever that interim progress would be, that's, in my view, that's exactly what should be going on here. And my question is, what are your plans? I don't want to get into if there's something that's privileged or whatever. I don't want to get into that, but I don't want to put you on the spot. But I think it's appropriate for the interveners and the rest of us here to know what EGLE intends to do at that hearing. What are you going to support the interveners? Do you have are you going to line up with Gelman or something in between, or what's your position?
Yeah, so I believe, there was a meeting, I believe, last week about that. There's going to be, 3 different briefings, one by Gelman, one by the interveners, and EGLE goes last. And, until we see what's out there, I don't know what we can support. All I can say is we can support what the law requires. We can't go beyond that. So, honestly, I don't know the details of it, but we'll have to see how that plays out. But we will have a briefing of our own that, on that. Obviously, that'll be public.
Are you going to let the interveners talk to you about what they'd like?
I think they are talking. I'm not in those discussions.
I'm not in those
Yeah, I'm not in those discussions either. It's mostly the attorneys, and I know some of the local representatives attended the last attorneys meeting on that.
Thanks, Ralph. Is that it for now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to dominate the meeting.
Okay,
so.
well, we have Jane, then Linda Burauer, then Kathy Griswold.
Hi, so I'm sorry I got here a little late. I wasn't feeling well. I got one quick comment from Jeff Hayner that Jenny walked the Mack with somebody else and wasn't able to find much. It would be great if we could maybe set up time to do a meet out there in a few weeks once I've got my vaccine on board and whatnot, and I can either walk them through, or if they want it sooner, I can send somebody and I can teleconference that person into going to the right locations. Or I can work with Vince and we can set up a group. But I also want to bring, it's not just Mack School, it's also Lakewood's nature area, which is just a stone's throw from the school, is literally on the other side of Second Sister Lake. And so I think there needs to be something moving forward that takes into consideration the schools and monitoring for the schools, because those requirements are going to be lower for the exposure for children and toxicity. Hopefully, let's hope that the EPA jumps on board with that. And Joshua, I think was it you that had said that you could talk to your toxicologist about what they thought about requirements for children. Did you get anything back on that?
That was me, and I did not.
Okay, so when could we hear something about it?
With your discussion, I have that down as a check back in with toxicologist to see if is with some of the numbers that have been calculated or proposed to be proposed to be new criteria, to see what differences that could be with children
Okay, all right, so when would you anticipate that? Is that something we're looking at, like it's gonna take them a long time to review papers and such, or is that something that you think might be done fairly like quickly and we could get something to kind of give us ourselves a sense of how much breathing room we have?
I want to manage expectations. I don't have a very good answer of how quickly. That's the toxicologist that we work with in our RD. And so
okay.
I will, I'm sure I can give an update definitely at the next card meeting. And then maybe have
Great.
information if we go out prior to that to take a look again at the Mack School. So let me find out. But I don't commit to, hey, 2 weeks. Again, that's let me check that out.
And I will keep it, I will keep it on the old business so that we won't forget about it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Now, one other question is, I know there were some questions about elevation. Is there a way to get better elevation information? How relevant is that to the discussion? Or are we more interested in actually like just simply testing?
Google Earth has elevations. You move in fact, Roger probably has it here. You move the cursor to the location, it tells you the elevation. So we have the elevations for like Mack School is at 485 feet. West Park is 816. Slauson is at 821. And earlier we did talk about the Maple Village well at well number 87S, S for shallow. They had 400 to 1500 part per billion, and that's at 843. So 843 is pretty close to Mack School at 845. And certainly West Park is below that. Slauson is 821 below that. So that's a concern we have, that these readings from the closed well in Maple Village is not, we don't have much, we don't have any monitoring of the shallow groundwater, as it moves to the west. I also mentioned that you had sent me some photographs of Mack School with the wet conditions. I could forward the photos you sent me, or if you have more photos, maybe you could send those out. Okay. So that EGLE and the county did go out to Mack and did do a walk around. And I've gone out there several times in the last couple of weeks, and Jeff Hayner's gone out. I don't see seeps right now as of like last week. But those photographs are pretty clear. And I think, it'd be good if we could get as much of that as you have to help them do some planning on that.
Can I say something about Lakewood School? I don't think it's even near the plume. Like we're 70 feet above any dioxane over here. And
I was talking about the nature area, which is to the west of it.
Yeah, but
it's adjacent to the lake.
Yeah, but I don't think there's any dioxane there. There's people on wells out near Second Sister Lake that don't have dioxane over there.
So isn't that other side, that the plume is right against the lake, and then on the other side of that is the nature area.
Right,
like
you can see there's no dioxane there.
So if the dioxane hits the lake is going to get contaminated. The lake is going to get contaminated. The shores on the other side are going to start seeing
We need to cut this off. Because,
but it's
the dioxane is below.
It's non-detect right now.
If you want to learn more about this, get on Google Earth and open up this Google Earth mashup, which is now part of my update today, if we get to it. All these cross sections have been done, and you can look at any one of these cross sections, and I have a link in there to what the cross section actually looks like. You should be seeing this, and you can see that here are the elevations, and here's the static water levels, and some of these would show static water levels where the wells are. So you can learn a lot about the hydrogeology levels from what we have on the SRSW mashups for card. And I would encourage you to look at this and see where there's holes in the data and suggest that we have more data, but I don't want to take more of the card time talking about this that we've talked about in previous card meetings. We could have a special session just with you to give you up to date on this. Beth, there's some other people waiting, I think.
Yes. Kathy Griswold and Linda Burrauer.
Well, I had one other comment to make. I mean,
Is it quick?
I just want to make it.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'll hold it if it's. I'll just send it by email if it's a problem. But I just.
You put it in the chat too. If you put it in the chat, then we have a record of it. Anybody can put things in the chat if you don't have time to talk.
I don't. I do have time to talk, but I don't want this to get swept under the rug, and that's the problem that we've been having problem with for a few years. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm glad to see the update.
27 years for me, and you know, I get a little impatient sometimes. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it, and I'm glad. But one place you're going to get a lot of visibility is with schools.
We need to have more people like you involved that are passionate, and we need to get you up to speed on what the basic information is. I appreciate that.
Councilmember Griswold.
Okay, I just want to end this discussion on a positive note and say that we've had some tension, some stressful times in, say, the last year. But I think at this point, we've got the right tone that's been sent by Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. I think that everyone's working really well together. Joshua, Brian Nagel, I've been going to all of the meetings that the lawyers are having, all of the phone conferences, a number of us are doing that. And so I think that we're really bringing everyone together and sort of working as hard as we can to make sure that there's good communication. So I know that we're not there yet, but right now we have the support of all of our local elected officials, our state elected officials, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, the directors of the agencies at the state level. We've been in contact with the EPA in Chicago. You know, we've got Roger Rail, we've got Dan Bicknell. I just don't think it could get much better. So I don't see how we can't have a positive outcome. Oh, and we've got our rally coming up next week as well. So we've got everything from grassroots to the U.S. Congress.
Thank you, Kathy.
Linda, did you have something? And then
Well, my previous question was answered, but I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to Kathy, because from the Ann Arbor City Council perspective, she's carrying all the weight and doing so much, Kathy. I don't even realize how much you're doing, I'm sure, on Gelman. And I just want to say thank you, because those of us in Ann Arbor wouldn't really have a big champion if it wasn't for you right now. You're carrying the burden because some of the other good council people, you know, had to leave. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. It's been an opportunity to make new friends and work with some very, very intelligent people. And at my age, I'm continuing to learn.
Good.
All right. I just want to say one more thing. Thank you, Joshua. I think it's important to get the 7.2 and the 280 in place because that should have been put in place way back when. It was based on a 2010 EPA guidelines, and it's already been a decade. And I hope that it can be done without Gelman holding that hostage so they can have all these poison pills that were in the rejected CJ proposal. You know, that they shouldn't be allowed to set the limits based on their druthers. It's their dioxin in our waters of the state. They just have to be reminded of that. So thank you.
Yeah, I believe that's our goal, like I said, to make incremental progress without cutting off any of the other potential paths to make the remedy better.
Yeah, thank you.
So is the next thing Jenny Kahn's long-term drinking water?
Yeah, let me reshare.
Hearing. See, am I muted? No. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, the May 3rd and 4th, I really don't have you know, there's a question on what's that procedure? Like the other one, it's going to be an open hearing, but in checking with the AG, it's still an unknown. You know, currently EGLE and the AG does not know how the hearing is going to proceed specifically. I believe in the next weeks, we will get guidance on when people are required to submit their, you know, their information to the judge, and when, for example, you know, Gelman can review and submit their responses, and then when EGLE can review all the information and submit responses. I don't have anything more specific than that, at least, you know, from the AG right now.
Well, and I know he said, Judge Connors said he wanted to hear from the public too. So I hope we get notice for that, or.
Well, the hearing is definitely scheduled for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and it is at least Brian, the RAG, identified it public. It's just, it may not, we just at this point don't have specifics where, you know, the judge is going to, you know, the scheduling order, an order will come out which will identify specifics he wants to see when to submit information for review to him. So.
And since we don't have another card meeting, I guess we'll just send stuff through the card core, and everyone that comes to a meeting is on the card core. So.
And the last one is related to the long-term drinking water residential well monitoring. And if Jenny's still on, if she can update, because she's firsthand.
Yep. So we do this sampling every year. We are starting next week with our first 21 samples that we're going to try to collect. And this year we're scheduled to collect 121 samples, or from 121 different locations. There's additional samples because some of those are sampled twice. But we have monitoring events set up for April, May, June, and September. So we'll be starting next week.
Jenny, do you have a Google Earth layer that you can share with us for the samplings they're going to be?
I don't readily available. I could probably get one to send out. I can tell you we're going to start along Elizabeth Road. Then we do Dexter and Arbor, the West Delhi, Breezewood, Countryside Court areas, Lakeview.
Right. I guess what I'm getting at, is it the same footprint as
down along West Liberty?
Is it the same footprint as the prior images?
Yep.
Last year's,
yes,
very same footprint as last year's. You know, we even incorporated, I believe, Jenny, right? We even, some of the wells are done every other year. You know, it kind of flips back and forth. This next year, we're it's the same footprint. We're going to do them again this year too. So it'll be 2 years in a row. So as we gather information during this time period of trying to implement the 4th amended CJ.
Because at one point you said you're going to go 1,000 feet out from where the dioxin had been discovered. So this new hit here on Breezewood would reset some of that, right?
Last year it was reset using that hit on Breezewood, I believe, Jenny, right?
That's correct. We actually reset it from Honey Creek. We did 1,000 feet from Honey Creek.
Right along.
We would be out to the west of Honey Creek there for some of the wells out in that area.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
What we sampled last year is on the webpage under residential well sampling. The results, they're listed by address, not names, but by address.
Yep. And I have those all, have your locations mapped onto Google Earth. So I guess we're done with that. I should go into my update and try to get through this in 15, 20 minutes. So let me go up and share the Google Earth again. So this is the Google Earth 2020 version. So if you click on a well, you will get information about that well through the data through 2020. And we've got the tabular versions of the data as well as the chart versions here. So if we Go down to charts and click on the same location. Now, instead of a table, you get a graph. So you can, this are the maximum levels for each of those years. And, you know, you can even click on, you know, this one here that was 1 part per billion in 2019 and then non-detect 2020. But there's locations that have gone up and we have a maximum per year. And this is a slider bar, so you can slide this down or play it, and you can see where the maximums for each location have been hit and re-hit over the years. So this gives you an idea of where the dioxane, maximum dioxane levels have been through 2020. So tell me which way the dioxane is going. Well, it's going west, it's going north, it's even going southwest over here. It's going northeast and it's going east. So this is what you can do with the data when you have visualizations like this. You can actually see what's going on. Of course, this is just one view of it. You also have the traditional dioxane as bar charts. So you can see the height of the bar at that location is the amount of dioxane, and here's the key for that. And again, this one's playable, so you can watch this over the years where the dioxane is really high and how it's spread over the years. This is actual data. These are not just the maximum. These are all the data points that we have, enough data that we can plot it. There's still some wells that we don't have X, Y, and there's some, we'll get into some of the other charts. There's some well log data missing that is, you know, keeps us from getting a full picture of what's going on. And hope someday that company will be required to share all of their data, not just what they share on their monthly summaries. Does somebody want to say something?
Yeah, Roger, how do you get access to this map?
I will show you.
Okay, thank you.
If I can find it here. It's off my screen. Let me jump over to it real quick. SRSW. And do another new share. New share. Come on, new share. SRSW. You basically go to srsw.org. And this is the current landing page for it. On the left side, it has links to all the other stakeholders' websites and, you know, recent events. And then on the right side, it has kind of news items, and then you scroll down to these other visualizations. And Google Earth is one of the choices here on the right side. So you click on this, it takes you to a second page, and you can download the simplified version. It used to be like 30 megabytes. This now is only 7 megabytes because it has dynamic links that if you're watching closely earlier when I turned on certain levels, it loaded in the other 80, 100 megabytes as I was working. So if you have an older computer, you might want to just stick with this basic version. So this is basically everything you've seen me work on Google Earth today. If you click on this link, you can open it up in Google Earth, or better yet, Google Earth Pro, which both are free from Google. Any more questions on
Thank you, Roger.
Nice job, Roger. Looks great.
Yeah, and I'm going to be forced to update the website, SRSW's website, because this is all based on Google sites, and there's a new Google sites, and it's going to be simplified. And maybe me better in some ways, but I might need some help with that. At the same time, the card site that's hosted at the county, which is linked, I'm linking to it. Are you seeing this already? Did it transfer okay to your, you seeing where it says reduce risk?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the,
Yeah, we see it.
this is the county has hosted a page on their system for card. And this is the latest version of it, which really still shows the rejected fourth consent judgment. And I've gotten word back that the county wants CARD to have its own website. So in the long term, they may set up a website and have it merge with SRSW, which has most of the content that you've been seeing. But you have to scroll down quite a ways to see what used to be at the top of this page, you know, the CARD members and the CARD meeting calendar. And so like here, the May meeting, May 4th, if you click on this, it'll take you to that meeting. And this is correct, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., right? So this is useful information. It's just that CARD can't dictate what shows up on this county version of the CARD website. Because I asked for this to be put in a sub page, and the answer came back was that you can't do that because the negotiations are still happening. I said, wait, is this part of the negotiations, that this was going to be here forever until the fourth consent judgment is in place? And that's when the answer came back that it should be a separate website so we can have control over it. Because CARD, you know, as CARD, we have messages that we want to get out by the voting members, and you know, we can't put it on this website right now, and maybe the county can do something about that. But anyway, I don't want to linger on that. I want to go back to sharing what I was going to share in the first place here. I have some other visualizations that I'm going to show you. If I can get back to it, go back to Google Earth first. Yes, all these layers here, it starts out pretty simple. And then when you get down to this where it says more layers, these are all dynamically loaded. So what you do is you click on one of these to dynamically load it, but you probably don't want to make it, you don't want to open everything up because some of these have a lot of layers. So let me show you here with this soils layer, for instance. So if I click on this, it will load in all the information we have for the soil sampling, which was really the last complete soil sampling we have public access to is 1998. And it's kind of like the dioxane levels, but you have to pan back a little farther to see where the top of these readings are here for 1998. About a million parts per billion. Oh, we have to pan back even more, yeah. So, yeah, so these are the dioxane that we don't know if how much of that is still there, because it might be part of the, see, it was originally, well, that's only 220,000 parts per billion, so that's not the highest. Anyway, we're still concerned about what's in the soils, and there apparently was some soil sampling at the burn pit area because there's some well caps that I took pictures of, and that might be part of what Dan was saying was released to the interveners, but it still hasn't been made public. So we don't know what some of these high concentrations that are still at the core. We don't know how much of that is still in the soils and in the marshy areas around the soils, and there's incomplete. We don't have a complete picture of what's left at the core. We do get the Gelman maps, and we are able to extrude those up and to show those year by year what the different dioxane levels have been over the years. And we go all down to 200. This is what it looks like as of 2020. And so there's a key that goes with this, the dioxane plumes key. So anything that's kind of this darker red here is 500 parts per billion or more. Here's one of the layers I did. I said, based on the rejected fourth consent judgment, the company was going to attack these hot areas, these hot spots, these two, and everything below that would have to be wasn't necessarily going to be removed. It might be, but it might be subject to the 280 parts per billion. But there's a lot of dioxane left below those levels. And ideally, under the EPA, the goal is to restore the aquifer. In other words, get rid of most of this dioxane instead of letting it spread, because we've already seen where there's some spreading to the north, and that's really close, like 200 yards from homeowner wells here across M14. And this is really kind of being ignored, just like it was ignored for many years as it built up to that location. So there's a northward component here that we're concerned about.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Sure.
I saw you run through this generally at an earlier meeting, and it's a pretty simple question. Do you think this is something that EGLE should be asking for at the hearing in May?
Asking for, they should be asking for everything that's short. They should be asking for everything that the EPA would do.
I get that, but I'm trying to focus on simple, one thing at a time. And I'm just asking about this. Is this something that the interveners and the EGLE should be asking for extraction wells at these locations because they're not there now?
Based on Gelman's recalcitrance, I kind of like the gradual approach, because 3 years of negotiations didn't result in an acceptable.
I'm not talking about asking Gelman. I mean, I'm talking about asking the judge.
Well, we definitely need more sampling to really know what's going on. We need more complete data.
Okay.
And that's something the judge could order. More sampling and more complete data. We know the data exists because it shows up on Gelman's maps and certain cross-section diagrams. And
Sorry to interrupt. I just thought that's an obvious thing that you raised that it's not being dealt with. So
yeah. And as far as I know, the judge has never seen the data presented like this. That there's the D2 plumes are heading here north. And back in 2006 or something, there was a consultant study, maybe it was 9, said that the deep plume will never make it this far. And yet we have wells in this area that are in the deep plume. And that's the kind of lack of data that we've been dealing with all this years, that they can't make good projections because we don't have good enough data. There's one more thing I want to show you real quick. So let me go back and make sure those are activated. And this has to do with Tableau Public, which is another visualization tool I've been using this last year. I'm gonna share this one. It's a new share. And let's go to this one. Share. So you should be seeing this. This is all the data points that we have enough data that we can plot. And I'm just gonna, this is interactive. So you can look, you can click on here, for instance, and you see just the extraction wells. What we're looking here is dioxane as a log scale over time. And what you're seeing here is that during the Gelman era, they weren't really doing much extraction at all, and they weren't doing much sampling. Paul took over, did a lot of sampling, did a lot of dioxin removal, and then kind of gave up about 2011. And when Danaher took over, they kind of continued that. So this is they're pumping at lower rates. They're not doing as much sampling. They're actually, if you look at the monitoring wells, they're actually not monitoring certain wells anymore. But you can look at these and you can click and get data for that point. So here's TW20. So is this dioxin going up or down, or is it plateauing? Well, I say it's plateauing for these last 8 years. And on the other hand, here's one down here that's going up. Dioxin's going back up, and it's above 85 now. This is up here around 800. If you look at monitoring wells, if you click anywhere on this, it'll reset the whole thing, by the way. We've got wells in here that are 18,000. And, you know, just this last year, 6,800 parts per billion. So this dioxine's lingering around after all these decades. Some of this would be in part of the hotspots, but there's other hotspots that we haven't found yet based on existing wells. And there's another mashup that shows that over time, over the X and Y location. I keep having to go back here to my main screen and bring up. So here's one that's pretty gives you a good idea what's going on under the ground. Come on, new share. Can everybody see this all right? So we have here, these triangles are the surface elevation. Here are the well-screened elevations for all these wells. So all the dioxane started out, and I'll just play this real quick. I can't play anything real quick on Zoom. But this again is elevation. This is where the wells are being sampled. The circles are how much dioxane is there. I'll post a short video of this, but it started out with really high dioxane concentrations near the core. And as this plays through, you'll see that the circles get smaller, but they spread out. They pop up other places. And when you get up to jump up here, because we're getting out of time, when they finally found the E aquifer, the deep E aquifer, we have all these new hits down here in the deeper elevations. And some of these are homeowner wells or former homeowner wells. So this is the kind of visualization you can get. Now this is west to east. I have another version that goes south to north, and it looks very similar. So how did dioxane get down here to MW 465 DuPont without it being detected by monitoring wells in between? You know, here's MW1 and MW1 replacement at the core. How did dioxane get from this shallower core monitoring wells all the way out to here without being detected in between? There just isn't enough sampling in between. You see there's holes in the elevation and west to east here that now it turns out there were a few homeowner wells in there, and we actually have that data from my 1995 data set I got from Gelman, but that's not included in the current database. So it doesn't show up on this mashup. There's a similar one I have of the of the XY. It looks very similar to the Google Earth mashups. See if I have this one. It's accessible for us here. And I have to go back and call it up. And then go to share. And now it should show up. So you should be able to see this is a map. If I zoom in, it's going to reload this because this is all dynamically loaded. No, that's not the right one. I'm sorry. We're out of time, so I'm gonna. I wish I had more time to show you all this stuff, but we got kind of bogged down in some of the old news. I will post some video clips of these mashups that play in like a minute, and you can kind of see with your own eyes what the problem is we're dealing with. There's a lot of wells, but there's a lot of hot spots that maybe we haven't found yet. And the company, of course, doesn't want to find these because that means they'd have to do more cleanup. So when you're worried about the schools and things like that, it's valid. But more importantly, we want to worry about people who are closer in that have wells, because that's going to be where it first shows up. That indeed is where the dioxin was first found, in the ground. You know, Dan Bicknell found it in surface water, but there weren't any monitoring wells around the site back in the old days. They went to homeowner wells and found the dioxin. And it's sad to say, but we're kind of back to that now, that we don't have enough monitoring wells to find all the dioxin before it starts to hit homeowner wells. We've already seen that happen in the Western Plume on Breezewood. We know there are narrow channels of high concentration. And some of the cross sections, Gelman even shows that. But when they hit one of these narrow channels of high concentration, they're not doing the quote contact tracing to find out where it came from and where it's going. It makes sense. It's very similar to what COVID is, contact tracing. If you have a hit, where did it come from and where is it going? Where could it spread to? And these narrow pathways have to be examined more closely instead of just throwing darts at a wall. If you have a big hit, work from that point out both directions. That's the logical way to do things. I don't think I have much more to cover here. There are some data problems and we're taking care of some of those. Here's one that came up. It turns out they were resurveying some of the data problems that I pointed out over the years, is that we're not sure if the Google Earth locations, the well locations that we're plotted on Google Earth are actually where the dioxin really is. Because the XYs that we get have been corrected over the years, and there's probably more that needs to be corrected. And if I turn on the dioxin levels again, and we zoom in, make this 2020. You zoom in, you'll see these bars. These locations seem to be okay, but when you zoom in far enough and you see a well in the middle of a house or in the middle of a building, you're pretty sure that's not where the right well location is. And how far off can the well location be before it becomes a problem? What's the standard for having best well location? So you know, first of all, where to find the well, and then where to do your projections from that. So for instance, this MW2D seems to be right in the middle of this parking lot. Is that where it is? Does it make a difference? What about back at the core? So one of the things I've asked for, and apparently Gelman has done this on their own back in 2013 and a few other times, but I would like to see these XYs checked for the whole site, all the monitoring wells. Somebody goes out with a device, puts it on the top of the well casing, finds out what the XY and what's the elevation of that well. Because the elevation especially is important for knowing groundwater flow. If you've got the wrong elevation, you could be projecting the flow of the dioxane wrong. So that's enough of that. I've already mentioned a CARD website. Oh, here's one more critical one that I might have mentioned years ago, but it's time to mention it again. And that is the wellhead protection areas. Wellhead protection areas are where we have areas defined by the state that are meant to keep contamination from entering into the groundwater that might affect people's wells. And two of these that I'm really concerned about are these two. How many people have seen these wellhead protection areas before? So this is Stony Creek Preschool. You're talking about schools. Here are two schools that have wells. And these are the wellhead protection, provisional wellhead protection areas for these two schools. These are set by the state, I think back in 2013. So dioxane that's in here could end up here at this preschool. Similarly, dioxane that's here, much higher concentrations, I might add, could end up here at this preschool. Now, are these wrong? These were done using the available data at the time. Was there not enough good data? What are we going to do to make sure that these kids at daycares here and here don't end up drinking dioxane in the water sometime in the future? Don't we have to act now? Do we have to act now to take care of this? So I just don't want these to be forgotten. They say provisional. It turns out that if you add up all the provisional groundwater areas in the state, it's about 2.5% of the area of the state. I don't think I have them all loaded here. I think I just have Washtenaw County here, or maybe even Scio Township. So some of these are real wellhead protection areas, like for Barton Hills and for Ann Arbor's supply well down by Steer Farms, and for the closed Northwest supply well. Now remember, for the standard wellhead protection area, you have the well, and then the bubble is the 10-year travel time for dioxane, for contamination to reach there. So groundwater that's here will take 10 years to get here. Groundwater that's here would take 10 years to get here. So there might be something wrong with these provisional areas, but if they're not wrong, are we just not finding all the dioxane? Well, we kind of have a hint here because this was a hit on Breezewood. That's in the middle of that provisional wellhead protection area. Now, is anybody at the state worried about that? Who's in charge of enforcing groundwater protection for these wellhead protection areas? Is anybody at the state on here still that can answer that question? I know it's another department from Dan's operation, but shouldn't this be an issue? Should we just ignore this? These are areas that somebody took the time to calculate what the risks are. And we have data that shows in both places here that there's dioxane heading that way. And this, am I the first to bring this up in any forum like this? Has the court even considered this? You know, this is not really part of the consent judgment because it's provisional. But isn't it just the same groundwater we're talking about? It's the same human beings drinking this water. I mean, this is why CARD is so important, that we can bring together all of the different entities that are supposed to be responsible for stuff like this and get some solutions. And, you know, I can't do this for as long as it's going to take, because, you know, I'm term limited. You know, I'm 73 years old. I could go anytime, and I'm certainly not going to live long enough to see the end of this cleanup. But shouldn't we be putting in place some entity that can take care of problems like this, instead of having to deal everything segmented and not interrelated? This is all interrelated. And we need to think of how we're going to do this. And that's why the EPA is so important, because it's the only entity that's set up to work on these kind of timescales. And so I encourage everybody to help convince the governor to send in that concurrence letter, and we can get these kind of long-term problems taken care of. And my voice is going, so I'm going to quit now. So thank you. I'm going to reshare the agenda. If I can find it. I think this is it. I should do a video of what I have to do here to make this all work. Oh, speaking of making it all work, next month, I'm going to be in California during the meeting. And I guess now that it's 6 p.m., I could maybe start the meeting and let Beth take over and have somebody help her do that, you know, admit people. But I want to have a backup just in case. So maybe the township or anybody else that has a pro Zoom account can get in touch with me and let me know that we have a backup available. I think we talked about this last time, but I want to get that nailed down in the next few days, so I don't have to worry about it when I'm out there visiting my first grandchild. All right, that's all I have. We already covered the grassroots. I don't think we have time for any non-agenda items. We do need volunteers for some things like information infrastructure help and press releases. Jenny and Beth and I talked about this kind of thing. We're just limited because there are only a handful of volunteers really doing a lot of this stuff. And so we need some more volunteers to step forward and have certain assigned tasks. And, you know, just like reviewing some of the stuff that goes out for press releases and that, I think that, and anything else that you think is lacking, which we know there's a lot of, but this is a volunteer, mostly volunteer organization. Some people are paid to be in this meeting, but a lot of us are not. And so we need everybody's ideas about how to make this work better, like make shorter meetings and things. Because I haven't eaten yet, and I'm sure a lot of you haven't either. So any last minute comments from anybody? Beth, you want to take over? My voice is gone.
No, thank you, Roger. Thank you for all that, and everybody for being here. And yeah, I'll talk with Vince and Mike Moran and see what we can do for next month.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think we're, like Kathy Griswold said, on a good track, and we got to keep the momentum going.
Yes, all good. Right. Well, thanks everybody for coming.
As many people as can make it to Lansing would be great. Thanks, Beth,
Thank
for
you.
working on that.
Yeah, we may need a sign up list or something.
Yeah, I'll start emailing by early weekend for sure, late end of the week, and just to confirm. We were kind of maybe hoping the letter would go out and we didn't have to do it, but it doesn't appear like that's going to happen.
Old days we would have carpooling, but I'm not comfortable with that.
or take the bus.
We need an open air bus. So we,
Yeah, not, yeah, right.
we get a
Should
flatbed
warm
truck with benches on the back.
And helmets.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good month.
You. Linda, did you have something? Unmute yourself.
No, I just wanted to say that I'm at the Mack. If anybody wants me to look around, I couldn't find anything in terms of seepage, but I don't really know what I'm looking for.
You're looking. You're at the
Jeff?
what?
He's at the Mack School.
Yeah, I was listening. I was listening to the meeting at West Park in the sunshine, and then I just decided to walk over here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, we're gonna try and keep an eye on the the seeps that come out of the hillside over
It's
time.
hard- it's
Right
hard to see
now,
groundwater. It's usually out of sight.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, okay.
and so like you have to know where to look, but if you want to walk around, if
take
you look,
pictures.
I mean, I guess I kind of know where to look but you can look, are you familiar with the school and where the kids usually play? I mean, it's a little hard to tell right now, some of it because it's going over where the kids
Well,
not being in school.
No, I could see the playground.
Can you see, are you, I don't know who you are. So are you a parent or do you just a neighbor or?
No, I just live on the Old West Side.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, it might be harder for you to be able to tell right now, but a lot of it is, you can see where the kids, so there's a part along the back on the upper playground actually that has some seeps that are going to be really hard to find unless you know where to look at them. But if you walk along the, if you look along the school, you'll see a set of stairs that are between the two schools.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right.
Not the
That's
ones
where
that
I
go down
am.
the side. The one. Okay, so you see, there's like a door there that looks like a boiler room door. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can look at the ground there, but can you kind of tell that that it's not, the grass isn't evenly grown in or very well there? That it's kind of like that muddy, has that look that it gets when the ground gets wet a lot. That's one of the areas that water gets kind of entrapped in that area. And so though there's water from other sources, it's hard to, thank
No,
you.
I'm in the corner. I'm in the corner that you're talking about. There's nothing much growing, just some weeds.
Yeah, that's the problem is that when there gets to be a lot of water in the area, that's what happens. Stuff can't grow. And so these like dirt patches and stuff that you see around, you'll be able to. That would be good. So that's the area that
I
Vince is
gotta
concerned
cut
about.
this. I
We
gotta
might
cut
make
this
water.
short because I'm having a.
And then the other
Yeah.
side is.
That's
and then the
okay.
other
That's
side
okay,
is-
Roger. I don't know what I'm looking for. It's better if somebody else do it. But thank you.
But anyways, the other side shows you have to be able to look you have to know where to look. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
So I'm gonna cut this off right now. Thanks everybody for coming.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.